Coach, a lot of guys talked about they brought like seniors here, but you brought Kelvin Banks. He's not a senior, but why do you bring him, and what does he mean for your team this season?
Because this is probably his last year with us.
He didn't say that. I'm glad you did.
You know, I brought Kelvin because from day one, he's been a model in our program of what it means to be a Longhorn. His work ethic, his commitment to the program, his leadership, the way he does everything, not only on the field, but off the field. If I could say, guys, who do I want you to emulate? I want you to emulate Kelvin Banks. And the way he's gone about his business has been tremendous. And y'all see the play on Saturday. I see who he is on a daily basis, and he represents us as good or better than anybody in our program.
Can you talk about what your 3 new special assistants are doing to help you? Sometimes you have unique roles for each of those guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who all 3 of these guys are.
Scotty.
Yeah. Oh, so Scotty Hazelton. Obviously we always try to have somewhat of a veteran defensive presence that can provide maybe a few different ideas of something that we're trying to get focused on. And if you go all the way back to Scotty Hazelton's past, he's a North Dakota State guy with Gus Bradley. And then it got that connection to Monty Kiffin. And then, then the connection that he got to Coach Tucker, and Coach Tucker's connection to Coach Smart, and Coach Smart's connection to Coach Saban. So there's a lot that he has that I think is going to be helpful for us, especially in the back end that we're looking to take advantage of there.
Coach, this program has been chasing success for years, and now that they finally had it, how do you maintain that?
Get right back to work, and I think that's, sometimes I don't want to give you coach talk and coach cliche, but that's the reality of it. I've been asked a lot about, how's it been since the last pass fell incomplete, against Washington. And I felt like we've had a football team that has been obsessed with wanting to get back. And that obsession has led right into hard work, has led right back into who we are culturally, and pouring into that has led right back into highly competitive workouts and practices. But yet this close-knit bond that I've been super impressed with. And I credit our leaders on our team. And a lot of times, I've got these 3 leaders here today, but I'm thinking about guys like Jake Majors, Gunnar Helm, Barron Sorrell, Ethan Burke, Alfred Collins, Jalen Gilbo. I mean, there's so many guys in our program that have been through it with us that it's not just the high level guys that we all see. The leadership we have across the board is probably more consistent than we've had in my time here. But I also think the depth that we have on our team is probably better than we've ever had in my time here. And so the idea is just get back to work. But the competitiveness has driven that up because there's more bodies that, hey, I'm a really good player. He looks just like me at my position, man. I better keep working, and that's what you hope for.
Sorry, can you speak to that part of it?
What do the next couple of weeks look like for you guys as you get ready for practice?
Yeah, so 2 weeks from today will be practice 1, which I can't believe it's already here, but it's exciting. So we'll have 1 more week of summer conditioning, and we'll finish up next Thursday. The guys will get about 5 days off, and then we'll start practice that Wednesday. So we do need to finish strong here in the summer. We pride ourselves in our conditioning. We pride ourselves on our mental and physical toughness, and I think summer allows us to work on that. When it's 4 o'clock in DKR right now, it's hot, it's tough, and I love being there with the guys when they're doing that stuff. And then they need some time to let their bodies kind of cool down a little bit, and then we'll get back to work on Wednesday 2 weeks from now, and we'll get going.
Sorry, back to that depth. Can you just speak to how far you've come in 3 years to be able to lose 13 guys to the NFL and still have the confidence that this team can really do some special things?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to my time at SC under Coach Carroll, and it became, I don't know if 13 was the norm, but it was the norm that guys came into the program, developed, left, and the next guys were ready to go. I go and I admire everything Coach Saban has done at Alabama, and I admire what Coach Smart has done at Georgia. And when you can recruit really well and you can develop players in your program, that when you do lose some players to the NFL, those next players are ready to go. We're fortunate that we've been able to tap into the portal some to fill some of those voids. And I think so far so good. I feel really confident about those guys that we have gotten out of the portal that have supplied us the depth to feel good about it, because of anything that this season is going to require, it's going to require depth. When you think about playing August 31st, week 1, and with the hopes and the goals of playing January 20th, that's a long way to go with more games in between. And to think that we're just going to walk through it unscathed is probably unrealistic. And so we're going to have to play more players early in the season. And that's not just at some of the positions that you would think of. We're going to have to play more offensive linemen early in the year to get guys ready to play if they're needed later in the year. And so, that's a great challenge for us as a coaching staff, that we have to look at it a little bit differently. But I'm confident in that, because I do think we have a really talented roster, a competitive roster, and I think guys are earning those opportunities to get out there and play.
Can you talk about some of those portal guys you added in the spring, like Javion and Norton and Lole?
Yeah, I feel really good about all three of those guys, and I've been impressed with Bill Norton. Obviously he's a really big human, but his movement is probably a little better than I was anticipating. Jermaine Lole is a guy that has just a real sense of maturity about him. He's got great movement skills. He can play multiple positions inside. And Javion Cole's a natural cover corner. It's hard to sometimes describe those guys, because maybe he doesn't have the best length you've ever seen, or he's not the fastest guy I've ever seen. But instinct sometimes overrides those things, and you can feel his instincts out there. And I think he's going to add to that room, which I think has got a lot of depth in that DB room.
When you're thinking about in helmet,
benefit you, as a head coach coming back.
Well, I think where we'll benefit is that I think our players will trust my experience. Having been in this league for 3 years, that when I speak on what is needed in this league, I think that at this point now our players are going to trust what I'm telling them. No differently than when we were getting ready to have to play Alabama, and what it would be like going into Bryant-Denny Stadium. And so as we go through this, and when we have our first team meeting, and I talk about, it's not about, when I really refer to it's a faceless opponent in the SEC, you have to look at it that way, because everybody is capable of beating anybody any Saturday. And the quality of coaching, the quality of players, the environments that you have to go in and play, you really have to fall back on what do we need to do, and let's focus on what we need to do. And but that's going to be a process to make sure that we focus on that and not get caught looking at the decal on the helmet.
when you
Sorry,
think of the
guys getting
in-helmet,
that rivalry game back this year. I know that's a long way away.
You get
but-
2 of them.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Aren't you lucky?
But one of them back that you guys haven't been a part of, and players have not played in that game.
Right.
Have you gotten a sense for how much that game mattered? A&M game matters to them.
Yes. Our guys will be ready. They'll be ready to play. It's a unique rivalry that way, in such that there's so many connections, even in our locker room. There's so many guys that players on our team played with, played against, youth football, high school football, went through the recruiting process with, and they both took visits to Texas and to A&M, and one went to A&M and one came to Texas. And so there's those natural connections there. And so naturally you feel it from Longhorn Nation. You feel it from the ex-players. And so I don't think there's going to have to be a big rah-rah speech in the locker room that day.
when you're thinking about in-helmet communication,
Quarterback, not that he wasn't already, but do you see the growth in him?
I'm really fired up for Quinn. I think back to when he arrived, and he was just trying to survive, in essence. And we kind of threw him out there, and he did some really good things and had some days that weren't his best days. And that's part of developing and growing. And then you go to year 2, and you watch how he played in some of our biggest moments and when we needed him to be really good. And then coming into this offseason, as much as it's been his physical development, I think his personal development, his emotional development is something that has instilled a ton of confidence in everybody in our building. He walks in that building like he is the starting quarterback at the University of Texas for the top 5 football team. And I think that has permeated throughout our locker room. Even the way I think he's carrying himself today is drastically different than maybe how he carried himself a year ago. And so to me, that is probably the biggest thing. Now, Do I want more touchdowns, less interceptions, higher completion percentage? Of course, all those things. But I think those things are a byproduct of his preparation, are a byproduct of the confidence that he exudes and the way he goes to work, his relationship with his teammates. And I give him a lot of credit. When you have this many new receivers and working with those guys, I was on the grass with them yesterday watching these guys throw the ball around, and it was like, it looks as good or better than before. I mean, it's fascinating to watch, but I think that's a byproduct when you have a veteran quarterback.
When thinking
Last
about
one,
in-helmet communication devices, how has that just streamlined the play calling process? And also, what type of info do you share with Quinn or Arch when radioing to them?
Yeah, no, I think naturally the play call. And the thing I try to do, and I think I've been fortunate to having spent time in the NFL and work with Matt Ryan and in those things, is sometimes you just don't want to get paralysis by analysis of giving him so much that he can't even operate the play. And so the subtle little reminders are helpful. And maybe that reminder's not for him. Maybe that reminder's for CJ Baxter. Maybe that reminder's for DJ Campbell at right guard. You can get to some of those things that you know are vital on that play. Maybe it's the reminder of, hey, I don't want to snap this ball until there's 1 second on the clock. Okay, because it's third down, and if we have to punt, I don't want, he'll know why I'm saying that to him. So there's little subtle reminders like that. But in the end, it also gives us an opportunity to huddle and maybe give him a few more opportunities to audible on his own, where I don't have to, because I can give him the audible into his headset. Hey, if it's this, check to this, and he can allow to go do those things. And so there's a lot that can go into it. We're fortunate, like I said, when you have a veteran quarterback, it's a little bit easier to manage that stuff.